You know where your business would be without you. Imagine where it could go with more of you. Well, with Wix, you can create a website with more of your vision, your voice, your expertise. Wix gives you the freedom to truly own your brand and do it on your own. With full customization and advanced AI tools that help turn your ideas into reality. Scale up without being held back by cookie-cutter solutions and grow your business into your online brand. Because without you, your business is just business as usual. Take control. Go to Wix.com.
Coming up on this episode of DL Weekly, Parkside Market is open in downtown Disney. We have the location and menu details. Dates for 2 unofficial days at the resort have been announced.
A new Haunted Mansion sipper, the return of a nighttime spectacular for the next few months. We finish our conversation with David Bossert and more. DL Weekly starts now.
Greetings aboard the DL Weekly Orbiter. For your safety, intergalactic regulations require that you remain seated with your seatbelt fastened, keeping your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the podcast. And please, watch your children. To make Tag and Teresa fly higher, pull back on the control lever in front of you. To descend, just push the control lever forward. Thank you. Please enjoy your spaceflight.
Well, hello and welcome to this episode of DL Weekly for the week of January 8th, 2025. I'm Teresa Urban.
And I'm Tag Bushman. We would like to thank everyone who supports the show. This week, we'd like to give a special shout out to Ruben O, Mike N, and Mike D, lots of mics this week, and Danny B for continuing to support the show. If you'd like to help support the show and get ad-free versions of each episode, things like being able to watch a episode live stream as we're recording it, like some of the people are being able to do tonight as we record this episode, and a bunch of other stuff with access to support early chat and some other perks, head on over to dlweekly.net/support and become an official weekly tier.
Now let's get to the news.
Extra, extra, read all about it. DL Weekly reports from intrepid correspondents Tag and Teresa. You heard it here first, ladies and gents. Breaking news!
Well, Parkside Market officially opened on January 4th. The new location looks great and features a variety of food and beverage options. If guests go upstairs, they can order from all 3 locations with the server rather than buy individual items from each stall with separate transactions. The location also has a stunning view of downtown Disney and the monorail from the 2nd floor.
This location just in general looks amazing. I really like how it looks.
Yeah.
I kind of wish all of downtown Disney had this aesthetic, this mid-century modern. The stuff that I've seen pictures of from these locations all looks really good. The only downside I've heard is just the pricing of some of the items here, but the location itself looks spectacular. I can't wait to just like be in this space. And of course, for somebody like me, again, unfortunately, the time I'm going, the monorail is going to be closed. So I don't get to see the cool view of the monorail from this, but I do want to check this out when I'm there at the end of February. It just looks so cool.
It looks so like clean and crisp. I love the bright, fun colors. I think they did a really nice job with this. I agree. Like yes, it's not as like Disney, like there's not Mickey Mouses all over. It's not very themed, like as far as characters or that sort of thing goes along with the movies and just Disney and the company in general. But I really like the look of this, and it kind of has its own feel and theming. I like it. You might look at this and think, well, it's kind of, I don't think it lacks character like they did with the Jazz Kitchen, where I feel like you could put anything in that space. This still has like fun. The cool thing too is all of the different sections have their own kind of unique little areas and twists and decor as well, which is very fun. It looks like the majority of the seating is on the 2nd floor, though. There is some seating down on the 1st level, but mainly the 1st level is kind of like the food court area. With all sorts of seating, including outdoor seating up on the 2nd floor. But the thing that to me is like the most fun, I like the style, but those windows, I love those colorful windows and those colorful glass panels that they used. It's
such a simple kind of thing, but it just pops.
Yes.
And like I said, if the rest of Downtown Disney adopted this look, I would not be upset at all. I love it. I think it's great. Well, another thing that happened with Parkside Market officially opening is we have like the full menus for all the different locations. And one of the nice things is, we talked about this last week a little bit, is there's actually a Parkside Market website that has all of this, and they've updated it with all of the menus. So if you go to parksidemarketla.com, you can see all the different menus. Teresa, why don't you get us started with the Sip and Sonder menu, because that is all the drinks that I know you're going to be super excited about.
All the drinks. The fun thing too is Sip and Sonder is part of Parkside Market, but it also has like a walk-up window, so you can order from inside like the food court section, or you can order from just like a Downtown Disney walk-up window, which I think is really great. Sip and Sonder serves all sorts of different lattes, fresh treats, frozen drinks, and small bites. We'll just kind of quickly go through the menu because a lot of this is kind of typical coffee shop things that you can order. So, of course, you have drip coffee, different espresso drinks. They have cold brew on tap, different teas, chai lattes. They do have a couple of icy drinks is what they call them, like so icy. There's the Hummingbird, which is like a Jamaican sorrel slushy. And there's also the Monarch, which is a butterfly pea flower coconut vanilla slushy. Very, very fun.
And then for the morning, they do have like a little bites section where they have normal coffee station kind of things, a butter croissant, bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich, a vegan sausage, and the chicken and the egg, which is a chicken sausage, farm egg, cheddar cheese, avocado, hot honey, and an English muffin. And then all day you can get cinnamon rolls and cake pops.
Check out the different flavors of cinnamon rolls. There's like plain, so like your classic cinnamon roll, but then they also have a blueberry brown sugar and a cookies and cream cinnamon roll.
And the cake pops, they have a funfetti, a cookies and cream, and a red velvet. So that's good. I actually didn't see that until I was just looking at this right now.
Like any good drink place, they have specialty drinks. Right now they've got listed the Onyx, which is a vanilla charcoal latte, the Sparrow, which is a vanilla dirty chai latte, a Serenade.
What's a dirty chai latte?
A Serenade, which is a honey lavender latte. I do not know enough about chai lattes to tell you. I think it's like the spices.
Oh, okay. Oh, Olivia says it's a chai with coffee.
Oh, there you go. Chai with coffee. There's also a Sweet Rhapsody, which is a lavender mocha latte, as well as a Stroll Down Market, which is a flight of all four of the specialty coffees.
My goodness.
I love it. Y'all know that's what I'm going to do.
Soul Sister is something I'm very excited about in this location. Soul Sister has not a huge menu, but it seems like the stuff they have is really good. Their signature bowls, you get to choose a base of rice, japchae noodles, or salad. And the versions they have a beef and egg, which is a bulgogi beef, carrots, kale, egg, sesame oil, spicy gochu soul sauce. And then there's a chicken bowl, which is a garlic chicken, carrots, broccoli, green onions, furikake, and sweet soy sauce. And there's a tofu version, which is, of course, vegetarian, which is crispy organic tofu, carrots, kale, cucumber, avocado, and creamy Veganese Cali sauce, which sounds kind of interesting. They have dumplings for... I skipped a whole section
you
here.
Did. There's also a beef bulgogi, kimchi, green onion, garlic, soy sauce bowl, and a pork belly. That comes with, of course, crispy pork belly, carrot, snow peas, pickled ginger, apricot ginger sauce. And pricing for the bowls range from $16 to $20, depending on which protein choice you go with.
They have a dumpling appetizer, which are fried beef and vegetable dumplings. And then there's also a grab-and-go Korean chicken salad that's available as well. And then they have some grab-and-go snacks, like a Gimme Seaweed Sea Salt, which actually is kind of a good snack if you've ever had that before, and some beverages as well. And they even have some mini versions for kids.
Smaller versions for kids.
Gigi's Chicken Shop.
Gigi's Chicken Shop. So, I'm sure you would have never guessed, but they serve chicken.
No.
All sorts of different chicken sandwiches and salads here. So, for the sandwiches, they have an original fried chicken sandwich, a ranch fried chicken sandwich, sweet and spicy fried chicken, as well as a grilled chicken sandwiches. Looks like all the chicken sandwich options there are $18 each.
They have a salad that you can add fried or grilled chicken to for an extra charge. They have the California, which is a mixed greens, a bulgur, avocado, roasted sweet potato, cucumber, sunflower seeds, sesame sticks, and a tahini miso dressing. The kale and Brussels, which is a grape, sunflower seeds, pecorino, quinoa, dried cranberries, and a honey lemon dressing.
Ooh, these both sound delicious, these salads.
Yeah. Of course, it wouldn't be a chicken place without chicken strips. So you can get 3 crispy chicken strips. And I saw a picture of this, and I really want to try this. They have the crispy Brussels sprouts with a chili lime salt. I don't know, something. I love Brussels sprouts. I've had this newfound love in the last 4 or 5 years for Brussels sprouts. Very, very excited.
There's also chocolate dirt pudding. So I don't know, we called this dirt dessert where it had the Oreos crunched on top and the gummy worms. They have that as well. Ooh, and Mickey Mouse sprinkles. And for other desserts, there's an oatmeal cream pie as well as a frozen strawberry lemonade.
They also have a waffle fries and a sweet corn elote. They have extra sauces. They have, of course, barbecue and a honey mustard, but they also have a garlic ranch.
I am so excited to try this place out.
And finally, we have the Vista Parkside Market.
Yes, so this is where all of the cocktails are. So we won't go through all of them because there are quite a few, but there are a couple that are served in some really fun glasses. One of them is called the Flamboyance Frosé, and it's served in what looks like a flamingo shaped glass.
Where did you see this?
The internet. No, I'm pretty sure Mice Chat had a couple of photos of them. Same thing. I believe it's the Bird Watcher is the other one that is in a glass that's shaped like a bird. They're very fun. See, look, there it is. There's your flamingo glass.
I feel like people should get in and have this soon because I feel like these are going to break. Fun. But
there's a flamingo glass. And then the bird glass reminds me, I feel like we've seen this shaped glass before. It was on one of the Disney cruises. Had, I think it's Nightingales maybe is what the lounge name is on one of the Disney ships. And they had a bird-shaped glass.
Okay.
That they serve drinks in there as well. But yeah, they look super, super fun.
This whole place, I'm just so excited for it.
They do have alcoholic beverages at the Vista as well as some non-alcoholic, very fun zero proof mocktails as well. Same thing, the two that come in those fun bird glasses have an alcoholic and a non-alcoholic option.
Well, that's
too,
awesome.
Super great.
Not only drinkers get the cool glasses, which seems to be the case frequently.
Well, we have a date for Adventureland Day at Disneyland this year. Sunday, March 2nd, mark your calendars, is the day for the event for 2025. This unofficial event celebrates the fun and exotic nature of the land with guests dressing up in their Adventureland best. To follow along with all the fun, check out the link in our show notes.
Yeah, we had...
one of these days or years, we will be there.
Who
Alex?
Alex
and
from
Freddie.
Backside of Water and Freddie, who we've had on the show too. It's their kind of event that they put on.
Yep, they're very involved in the event. And it looks like so much fun. So many people get crazy dressed up. I just love seeing people's themed outfits for these events. Super, super fun. Follow along on Instagram because I know every year they do a good job of sharing what's happening throughout the day as well as sharing outfits that people are wearing, and they even do a good job of editing the photos to make them look like they're old-timey photos, like they were taken back when Indiana Jones would have been around and all that sort of. It's just super, super, super fun. If you have a chance, mark your calendars, go check out this day. It's open to everyone. Just need to make sure you have your own park ticket and park reservation to get in, but it just looks like a really great time.
There's some pictures on Instagram where it looks like they took a group photo in Adventureland, and I was like, I don't even know how you pulled this together. This is crazy. I just realized what the angle this was from. This is from looking from the Jungle Cruise into. For some reason, I was thinking this was by the restrooms looking into Adventureland. I was all discombobulated.
There's a picture of it the opposite way because Freddie was up on that bridge. And there's an Adventureland song, or there's some sort of song that they sing as a group every year together. Yeah. Super, super fun.
That is really cool. I am sad that I am also missing this day by
one of these years. We will be there.
We will.
So if you want to hear more about Adventureland Day, we talk with Skipper Freddie back on episodes 268 and 269. So we talk about what he's doing currently as well as all sorts of fun Adventureland
Almost
Day.
100 episodes
Almost
ago.
100 episodes. And you guessed it, Skipper Freddie, yes, was in fact a skipper of the Jungle Cruise.
When did we have Alex from Backside of
We've
Water
had
on?
Alex a couple of times up. Alex was on episodes 274, 275, and then back again for episode 325 and 326.
Yeah. That's a picture from Adventureland
That
Day.
is a picture from Adventureland Day for
Yeah.
our episode graphic on 326.
The spring dates for Dapper Days have been announced in Disneyland. Dapper Days will be April 12th and 13th. April 13th is the day that will be in Disneyland, with the 12th being the Dapper Day Expo, which happens at the Disneyland Hotel. Over at Walt Disney World, Dapper Days are April 26th and 27th, with park dates to be announced. Tickets for the Expo and more are available in the show notes.
Again, another super fun, unofficial event that happens, well, twice a year at the Disneyland Resort. But yeah, again, just super fun. So you put on your Sunday best and go enjoy the park with your fellow dapper friends. And yeah, these events are just, they just bring something different to your park day. You've got like these, I just love the outfits and the creativity that people put together for these things, and they're different. So you can go to Adventureland Day and kind of tap into your adventurous side. Dapper Day is more kind of like proper, maybe old.
Your Dapper Day. You're dressed dapperly.
I feel like you're dressing back like when the park opened kind of styles. And it's just really fun. And people just really lean into it and have just a ton of fun with it.
Yeah, one of these days I want to go for Dapper Day. I got to get I'm not usually like a costume person or even a Disney bound kind of person, but I really do want to go to one of these days and actually dress up in some dapper outfits, because I love dressing up in like fancy outfits and stuff like that. So very excited for that. You can book your stay and get special rates and get tickets and everything on the link that we have in our show notes.
And again, you don't need you only need tickets
for the expo.
For the expo itself. If you want to just join in the festivities at the park, again, just your regular park ticket and reservations, all you need for that part. Well, it was just a matter of time before another Haunted Mansion collectible came out. For this release, the bride from the mansion is in the form of a sipper. It features Constance Hatchaway in a translucent plastic, holding a candelabra in one hand and a bridal bouquet in the other. Her heart beats red in her chest and has a black and gold shoulder strap. It will be available for purchase starting January 14th at the Golden Horseshoe and Stage Door Cafe, as well as Harbor Galley, for $35. I need her.
I was going to say, it looks pretty cool.
I don't know how, but I need her.
Maybe you don't know how. Somebody will get her
Somehow.
for you. Well, is it like a limited time?
Limit 2 per person per transaction.
No, but I mean, like, is this something that's going to go away?
It might, because it depends on how quickly it sells out, how quickly they can get it back in. Same thing happened with like when the Hatbox Ghost Sipper came out, when the various sippers and popcorn buckets, there's always seems to be like a big rush for them at first, and they sell out, and then they come back a little while later.
What was the last popcorn bucket that I feel like we were in the park and we thought it would go away, but like there was tons at every popcorn cart?
I don't remember.
There was something that came out that I think that they thought was going to be really popular, so they did what they should do, which is ordered a ton.
Yeah, I don't remember what the most recent one was that we were in the parks for.
Are you excited for regular Haunted Mansion to come back?
I am excited for regular Haunted Mansion, and I'm going to use my little detective skills, whatever you want to call it. I really think we have been hearing rumors that there will be a new bride animatronic, and now the fact that it's been released that there's a bride sipper that's coming out, I don't think that's a coincidence.
Right.
I think that's kind of, I hate that my brain went there, but we're going to go with it. I think that's the final nail in the coffin. I didn't even mean for the pun. It just happened. It just happened. But yeah, I do. I think that might be like just yet another hint.
Sure. I mean, it makes sense.
And she's different. She's different than how she's currently depicted in the mansion, because right now she just has a bouquet
and the axe
the bouquet. What is it? The
morphs
axe
into the axe.
Yeah. The bouquet morphs into the axe, or the axe morphs into the bouquet, however you want to say it. And then like the actual physical character that we've seen in the parades and such has a bouquet with an axe hidden in it. There is no axe here. It is a candelabra, which is very different than what we've seen her have before. And the current bride didn't have the beating heart. That was an older version of the bride in the attic. So I'm very curious to see. You'll have to tell me if we do get if a new bride does materialize, you'll be able to experience it before I get to, and I can't.
You're gonna watch a video of it or
well,
something.
yes, but it's never the same.
That's
it's never
true.
as good on video.
That's true. Speaking of which, by the way, we're talking about things on video. This popped in my head. So I watched I was a week behind on Fresh Baked construction updates, and he was talking about he thinks maybe that Pixie Hollow, the meet and greet section, is closed.
Yeah.
He thinks, and I didn't. This must have been before we were doing the podcast. Apparently, there was a meet and greet in 2016 that had Tinkerbell in her little thing,
right?
And she would talk to you and stuff. He's wondering if they've resurrected this technology and perfected it, that the little meet and greet will be little Pixies meeting with you.
That would be very cool. I do remember that now.
But he showed video of it in there, and I was like, okay, this is one of those things that obviously probably looks great in person, but you don't have any projection stuff. Well, just like when you see the faces, it doesn't look as good in video, but in person it looks better. So I think it's one of those. Anyway, I know at least one person listening will be very excited to hear anything about Tinkerbell. So anyway, guests visiting the resort before the 70th anniversary kicks off, like I am, will have some returning entertainment to hold them over. Mickey's Mix Magic is coming back starting January 7th, which is the day we're recording this podcast. The show will be projections only during the week, with fireworks and projections on weekends and holidays.
So we were talking about this before recording the podcast, and I love Mickey's Mix Magic. You could probably go back and find an old episode of us when Mickey's Mix Magic first came out, and we first watched videos of it. And again, videos don't do things justice, right? I remember seeing a video of this and just being like, I don't know. I was not excited, and it was kind of what are they doing? Then I experienced it for the first time, and it's so fun. I think it's the song, which is now our rope drop song, is the Come On Everybody, Get Your Ears On song. It is such a fun, upbeat, catchy song, good classic Disney, because it just really gets you you can't help but you can't help but smile and bounce around and dance a little bit, even if dancing in public's not your thing. Your toe's gonna be tapping something, because it's just it's such a happy song. It's so fun.
It's true. And what's funny was I really love Wondrous. And James said that he was very excited, and he likes this better than Wondrous for him.
Wow.
And he's very excited that this will be playing when we're there. I was under the impression, looking at the calendar, they hadn't announced any of this stuff. And when I had looked, no Phantasmic, no parades. All we had was World of Color, and I was like, really?
Time.
Yeah. So I was really sad, because we're taking our exchange student who has never been to Disneyland, and there was going to be none of this really cool, marquee entertainment. So I was happy that something's coming. I think he'll actually really like Mickey's Mix Magic, probably more than Wondrous.
Yeah.
So that'll be good. It's always fun. And you can't help but dance, 100%. It is a lot of fun. And, I had kind of, this is maybe bad of me to say, I'd kind of forgotten about Mickey's Mix Magic for some reason, because we had Wondrous Journeys and whatever.
It's kind of become the temporary in between,
which is fine,
show, which I think is great. And again, it's just so fun. But the last time I remember seeing it in the parks was actually when we were there for my wedding. That was what the nighttime entertainment was then, and I just remember being with the family and just having such a fun time bopping along, because it's again just so fun. You can't help but dance. Haunted Mansion Holiday just closed to return to the classic Haunted Mansion, and yet we already have the date in 2025 when the favorite holiday overlay will return. August 22nd, Jack Skellington and his group of Halloween Town friends will return to wreck the halls of the Haunted Mansion.
Of course, this was a big drama today, because
Yes,
Scott Gustin, who posts on Twitter, various things that pop up. Seems to have a bunch of insider knowledge, but had found a typo on the Disneyland website that said that this wasn't going to be opening until October?
It was
November.
after. Yeah, it was after Halloween. So it was looking like Classic Haunted Mansion was going to be through Halloween.
Mm-hmm. But
mid-November that they were going to switch.
But Disney released an update after that. Was like, nope, that was a typo on the website. That was not what it was supposed to be. So it was just kind of interesting because it caused a lot of conversation in our Discord chat today of people
and
talking
online
a lot about
too.
It. Yep.
Lots of conversation caused online from it as well.
What's the difference between DIY and doing it yourself? It's the difference between a part-time passion and a full-time business. Wix gives you the power to turn your passion into a moneymaker. With a website that fits your unique vision and the business tools you need to succeed. Let your ideas flow with AI that guides you, but keeps you in the driver's seat. Manage your business from one dashboard and keep it growing with built-in marketing features. It's time to turn your daydream into your dream job. Do it yourself. Go to Wix.com.
Your neighborhood just got cooler with Kroger Delivery's refrigerated trucks. Simply order groceries at the same great prices online as in-store, and we'll bring them to you fresh every time. And if that wasn't cool enough, you can now earn 4 times the fuel points after 4 with your digital coupon. Choose a next-day Kroger delivery time slot for 4 p.m. or later on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. Must deliver by February 4th. Restrictions apply. See Kroger.com for details.
We have to get the snacks for Tag and Teresa and James and Bern. Oh, and Cinderella. Time for snack chat.
Well, this week for Snack Chat, we are going through a new foodie guide. The Lunar New Year foodie guide has been released. And dang, this looks good. I know we have a couple of weekly tiers that say this is their most favorite festival every year and that the food's always so fun and so delicious.
Mm-hmm.
One of these days, we're going to have to, maybe in the near future, hopefully we can have the stars align so we can be out for this. But yeah, every time we look at this foodie guide, I'm just drooling. It just looks and sounds so good.
Do you have some things picked out that you're particularly excited about? I did my normal thing and wrote down some things.
So many things. Okay, we'll go through each of the different marketplaces. So the Lunar New Year food booths will be out and available January 17th through February 16th. So this is for the kind of like festivals. This is one of the shorter ones. It's only a month.
Yep.
But at the Bamboo Blessings booth, I am looking forward to the brown sugar milk tea. It is Joffrey's Coffee
That's
and
also
Tea
what I put
Co. Ceylon tea, Hatiok inspired brown sugar syrup, maple and butter pecan syrups, and oat milk garnished with banana milk infused whipped cream. Yum.
Yeah, this sounded really good. This was the thing. This
the pork
was just
shanks for the savory side look good, delicious too. There's mini char siu pork shanks with rice and pineapple chutney. It's this picture at the top left right there. Yum.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a macaron, but, I've moved on from the macarons. I don't think I've ever had it yet, and I still want to try it, is these garlic noodles. They keep coming back every year.
They do, so
at
they must
Longevity
be good.
Noodle. Now, if you noticed, did you read through this whole thing yet?
Yes.
The garlic noodles are here, and there's garlic noodles at the Magic Key Terrace.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, ooh, that's kind of cool. Not that it matters for either of us at this point, but it was very, very good. So is there anything in particular you're excited about with Longevity Noodle Company?
Well, you guessed it, another drink. The tropical coconut cooler is probably my most, that's probably one of the tippity top things on my fake list, since we're not actually going to be there to try these things in person, but I want everyone to know, to tell me how these things are. But yes, the tropical coconut cooler made with coconut cream, coconut milk, house-made jackfruit syrup, dragon fruit syrup, lychee nectar, and cherry juices, garnished with mango coconut foam and rainbow jellies. Ooh. It sounds delicious and looks very pretty.
It does look very pretty. This was almost on my list, but I decided not to put it on that.
Huh?
Yep. At Lucky 8 Lantern, is there anything here? I didn't have anything
I do
here.
want to try, I think, the quesadilla egg roll.
It's not a new item, though.
It's not new, but I heard good things about this. So I'm curious. I would be curious to try that.
Okay. At the Prosperity Bao and Buns location, they have some new items here. They have a raspberry lemonade ale. I didn't put anything down for this one. There's some few drinks and stuff here. The bao buns themselves just look. I love bao buns. I could eat bao buns.
I would
want
to try for me. I would try the Kung Pao Bao, which is made with a plant-based chicken, toasted peanuts, and scallions. That one looks really delicious.
I love bao buns. I could just I could feel the texture of the bun in my mouth as we're talking about it. At the Red Dragon Spice Traders, there's a bunch of new stuff. In fact, everything on their menu is tagged as new. I did not put anything on the list. Did you put anything for this one?
Yes, all of the above.
All the above. So let me just go through them quick. The fire chicken wings with sesame seaweed crunch, which now that I read that kind of sounds good. There's a spicy gochujang chicken tacos with a yuja citrus cabbage slaw. There's a peak Maggioli cocktail, which is peach rice wine, citron vodka, ginger liqueur, cucumber syrup, and white grape and lime juices garnished with a skewered frozen peach and grape. Ooh, frozen. That sounds cool.
So refreshing.
Yeah.
And then
I finally have something on Wrapped with Love.
Next up is Wrapped with Love, which these things look so delicious too. So of the things here, for sure, I would try the Taro Vietnamese style iced coffee, which is Joffrey's coffee, Vietnamese style coffee, cocoa powder, and condensed milk garnished with a Taro chocolate sweet cream. Delicious.
Something kind of sounded interesting, except for the fact that it has jalapenos and I'm not really a spice person, was the faux dip or the pho dip with rice noodles, sliced beef, shaved jalapenos, pickled onions, and a faux broth. So it's kind of like a French dip, but with like an Asian kind of twist on it.
There's also fried lemongrass chicken dumplings with plum sauce.
And the one thing that I put on my list from this one was the mandarin orange cream puff filled with citrus cream and mandarin compote. I love these puffs.
Cool,
I love these puffs.
Yeah, and it just looks really, really neat as well. And then throughout Disney California Adventure, there are all sorts of other fun things that you can get. Some of them you can get with your Sip and Savor Pass, like over at Aunt Cass's Cafe. There's an almond cookie bread pudding that you can get with the Sip and Savor Pass. So there's kind of like a tasting version as well as the regular version, which that definitely made my list too. It's almond bread pudding with a gooey almond center, mandarin orange creme anglaise, whipped topping, toasted almonds, and an almond cookie. Yum.
Yeah.
I really want to see what these snake sourdough breads look like, because there's only they only show just the head, because it's the year of the snake. So yeah, if you're wondering why snake sourdough bread, it's the year of the snake, so we're celebrating all things snake. They don't really have, actually, now that I just said that, there's the snake sourdough, but there's not really much other themed eats.
Apparently not. There's stuff all over the place. I am really excited about two items at the Paradise Garden Grill, which you can get on the Sip and Savor Pass, or you can mobile order for non-Sip and Savor portions. So I think they're a little bit bigger. And the two things I put were the beef and broccoli, which is marinated steak tips with fried rice, green onion, and toasted sesame seeds.
Which is plant-based. It is a plant-based beef and broccoli.
Oh, yeah, plant-based. It looks really good. I'm really excited.
Good.
And then the other one is the strawberries and cream roulade covered in toasted almond slices, which also looks just... My mouth is watering thinking about this. I
would also get the tiger milk tea with brown sugar tapioca pearls.
Ooh.
Yum. So many delicious beverages for this festival.
Did you have anything else? I have one more item at Great Maple.
I don't think so. There's just so many. I mean, honestly, look through this. There's so many good things. It's hard to choose this or that. Churros. Have we? Nope, we haven't gotten to churros yet. Go ahead.
No, I do want to comment quickly. What is this? Is this the sweet taro bread?
Yep.
So the sweet taro bread is a taro cream cheese icing and condensed milk. And in the photo, I love purple, but something about I don't know. The coloring is not doing it for me on that. But the last thing I had was a Great Maple. It was a 5-spice sugar donut holes served in a Chinese takeout box with chocolate sauce, raspberry sauce, and whipped cream for dipping.
I have both of the churros on my list. There's a Vietnamese coffee churro, which is a classic churro rolled in coffee sugar topped with a bold coffee icing and sweetened condensed milk. That's over at Goofy's Sky School and at Senior Buzz Churros. And then over at Churros at Hollywoodland, there's a toasted sesame and red bean churro, which again is a classic churro rolled in toasted sesame sugar with red bean whipped topping and a sesame toule, I think is how you say that. But also delicious. Oh, that's interesting. I just noticed that the toasted sesame and red bean churro is available with Sip and Savor Pass. That's a first. I don't think I've noticed a churro being available on a Sip and Savor Pass before. And then at the hotels, oh my gosh. These over at the Craftsman Grill over at the Grand Californian Hotel, they have Dan Dan noodles, which is pork, seasoned noodles, peanut, green onions, sesame oil, garlic, and cilantro. Those look delicious. I know we kept saying these are the last things, but we keep looking through.
Well,
and it looks so good.
You know what?
Look at all the stuff at Sketchpad.
I think I flipped the wrong thing. Anyway, the coconut custard bao buns have like these cute little faces on it. I think when I copied this, I think I was going for this.
Oh.
Now that I'm looking at it. Because those bao buns look so adorable.
The coconut custard bao bun at the Sketchpad Cafe have like little faces on them. So we thought that they were trying to, the short bao that they did. We think that that's what those are representing.
Which makes sense. Pixar Place Hotel, yeah.
There's also, look at that. There's, what is it? A red velvet and cream cheese whoopie pie.
Mm-hmm.
Strawberry and chocolate chip overnight oats.
They have a lot of good stuff.
Couple of drinks there too. Yum. Tons of great choices. I don't think you can go wrong or go hungry because there's a lot.
One thing they did in the foodie guide this time that I thought was kind of nice was at the very end, they put a section of kids picks. Mm-hmm. So things that would be good for kids. And of course, the garlic noodles made it on there. Snake sourdough bread made it on there. So those type of things I think was really cool that they added those little sections there. So
if you get to experience Lunar New Year, let us know what different things you get to try and what different things you get to see and experience during this very fun festival.
Well, if you enjoyed listening to the show, please consider rating and reviewing the show on your podcast app. It helps other Disney fans become weekly tiers and part of the community.
DLWeekly announces the boarding of the Trivia Express, nonstop star speeder service to the moon of Endor. All passengers, please prepare for immediate boarding.
Welcome to Trivia Land, where we have some brand new, at least to my eyes, submitters of questions. Are you ready for some new perspectives?
We're ready. Ready as we will be.
Perspectives.
Yeah,
okay.
like it's like in Ratatouille when Ego was there and he says, "You provide the food and I'll provide the perspective."
There you go.
Yeah.
I think I've seen Ratatouille once.
Well,
and that
should be enough times. Why don't you know every word?
Really long time ago.
I really enjoy that movie.
I should watch it again. I probably underrate it, but anyway.
All right. Well, let's get right to it. Your first listener submitted question from listeners Jonathan and Shanna. What is the name of the park ranger who reminds you to be safe on Grizzly River Run? He also makes fun of you for being all wet at the end of the ride.
Oh.
For some reason, the only thing that popped in my head, and it's not a name, well, I mean, I guess it could be a name, is the end of Emperor's New Groove with Kronk with Squeak Squeakum Squeak. That's what popped in my head when you said this.
When he was not a wilderness explorer,
but the wilderness ranger person or whatever. Yeah. So I have
funny.
no idea.
Sam. His name is Sam.
Just Sam?
Yep, just Sam.
Okay, Sam.
All right, Tag, you hopping on that river?
No, I'm not even going to pretend. I'll say Kronk, even though I know it's wrong. Kronk. Ranger Kronk.
All right. Final answers, Kronk and Sam.
They're not the right answers, but...
All right.
That's a good question, though.
That's a good question.
Your second listener submitted question from listener Donna S. What game show did Walt Disney appear on?
What? I feel like I've actually heard this before.
I haven't. This is new information for me. I have no idea.
Was it like That
Match
doesn't
your mate?
No, that doesn't seem right. I don't think like the bajillion-dollar pyramid or whatever was around then, was it?
Nice.
Was it the $1,000? No, what was it back then? $10,000 pyramid? That sounds right. I'm going to say the $10,000 pyramid, even though that's probably not right. Because the first games that pop in my head from that time frame are the games of like the matchmaker game, but they're not going to be doing that.
Yeah.
You know what, though? He might have been on that because I think he tried to disguise his voice. I remember seeing this clip now.
Match your mate may be right.
No, what's the one where like they're on the other side of a wall, there's 3 of them, and you're trying to like pick your date or whatever.
Maybe, I have no idea. Like Bachelor number 1.
Yeah. That's exactly what it was.
I don't know I don't know.
So whatever that is what he was on, because he disguised, I remember seeing the clip now, he disguised his voice for it. And so when he came out, everybody was like really surprised. So it was
not the pyramid thing.
No, it was, I don't know, man.
You're really worked up about this.
Well, because I know it.
It's on
I have
the tip
clip.
of your tongue.
I just don't know the name of the show. Is it the dating game?
There you sure, why not?
The dating game, why not?
So you're saying that instead of $10,000 pyramid?
Yes.
All
yes.
Right. Dating.
Yes, because I now remember this clip. Yeah. Anyway.
All right. And Teresa, are you going to sit on the side of the wall with him?
I'm going to keep it with match your mate because that's the only answer I got. Because that's the only thing that comes to mind and I have no idea.
All right. So we've got dating game and match your mate, right? Final answers?
Yep.
All right. Your third listener submitted question from listener Andy M. Teresa, you know the Haunted Mansion. Can you name all 5 of Constance's dearly departed spouses?
You want to know what's terrible? I was trying to memorize their names at one point.
Why? Because you knew it was going to come up?
Curious. No, it was one of those, like, I don't know, like their names are all like interesting old-timey names, and I was just trying to memorize what they were. Because, like, if you go in the mansion, you can see the portraits, and I'm pretty sure at the bottom of the portraits is like a little name plaque.
In the stretching room? No.
No, in the attic.
Oh.
Like as you're going through the attic and they have like the wedding portraits.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
I don't feel bad now not knowing this because you miss Haunted Mansion.
Like it was one of those, we were going through the mansion, I was looking at them and I noticed that there was names there and I was trying to like, ooh, you know, whatever. And I was trying to go like remember what the names were because I noticed that they were there.
For our listeners to have my shock here, Teresa's wearing Haunted Mansion themed ears and a Haunted Mansion shirt that says, "I like my mansions haunted."
I like my mansions haunted.
So, and you don't know this.
And I'm
so
a failure. I need to like go change. You can take my mansion. My Haunted Mansion card, or I gotta turn in my death certificate.
Yeah.
Fail. Do you know who would know this? I know he knows this. Alex 100% knows this. Alex Waltz.
I'm sure he does. Over at the Swinging Wing
Like,
podcast.
I'm pretty sure he's listed the names off to me.
Oh, I'm sure.
Point. Dang it.
I can't even remember my students' names, so I'm not going to remember this. So anyway. All right, I've stumped Vern for me.
Failure is what I'm writing down for myself.
All right.
Failure.
So stumped and failure. Final answers.
So like, shame on you, shame on your cow.
Shame. Yes.
All right. And your fourth and final regular round answer from listener Ayla T. Which attraction boat holds more people? Small World or Pirates of the Caribbean?
The same.
The same?
Aren't they? I thought they were the same boat. No. Take that back. Pirates.
Pirates. Yep.
Because they haven't that tiny little back row. Small World does not have the tiny little back row.
Yeah, I was going to say Pirates because I feel like the Pirates ones are wider. I think they used to be the same, but I think over the years, like, they've changed. Because the ones that are at Small World used to not, like, the ones that are there now are kind of like a blown plastic, you know, like a molded blown plastic. But the Pirates ones are not that. But the ones that used to be in Small World looked like the Pirates ones before. And I think what happened was Americans got chubbier.
Yeah.
And they had to have lighter boats that held less people because it was like slowing down and scraping the bottom.
Yeah.
So, yeah, pirates.
But yeah, because I think, are there 6 rows on a haunted mansion?
I don't know how many rows.
I'm in the wrong one.
I think there's one row in the Haunted Mansion too, buddy.
Yes, there's one row there, but it's in the Haunted Mansion boats. The Small World boats. Are there 6 rows or are there 5?
I don't know. I don't pay attention.
I'm losing my grip. We haven't been for a long time now, so
Yeah, but you've substituted a Disney cruise, which is not nothing.
No, I substituted like the best thing. It was a Disney preview cruise.
Well, and you got another Disney cruise coming up soon.
I have another Disney
anyway,
cruise coming up.
That's our final answers, Ferd.
Pirates.
Final answer.
R.
You're board in the same ship.
R.
Alrighty. And your bonus question tonight from listener Paige N. I feel like you may have had this one before, but I'm asking you anyway. Can you name the main birds in the Enchanted Tiki Room?
Oh, well, we've got
Jose,
Pierre,
you
rascal, you,
Michael,
Jose, Pierre,
Fritz. That is my good friend Fritz.
This is my good friend Fritz.
Jose,
I always forget Michael because
Pierre, Michael, and Fritz.
Yep.
Final
Jose,
answers?
Pierre, Michael, Fritz.
All right. Final answer.
Yep.
Final.
There's
Alrighty.
Colette. Hello, Colette. Suzette. Josephine. What is it?
Mimi.
Like Mimi, Fifi. Josephine. Whatever happened to Rosita? Anyway.
All right. Well, listeners, how did you do listening at home? How do you think Tag and Teresa did? You're going to have to stick around until after the discussion, and we can all find out together.
There's one thing that will forever change the way you sleep, and it's the softest 100% organic cotton sheets from Boll & Branch. You'll fall asleep faster, wrapped in the most luxurious comfort. You'll never sleep hot again with sheets that feel breathable to sleep in. You'll experience the purest softness on night 1 and feel your sheets get even softer with every wash. Discover the difference with 15% off your first set of sheets at bollandbranch.com with code CUMULUS. Exclusions apply. See site for details.
Bombas makes the most comfortable socks, underwear, and T-shirts.
Warning, Bombas are so absurdly comfortable you may throw out all your other clothes.
Sorry, do we legally have to say that?
No, this is just how I talk, and I really love my Bombas.
They do feel that good. And they do good, too. One item purchased equals one item donated.
To feel good and do good, go to bombas.com/listen and use code LISTEN for 20% off your first purchase. That's BOMBAS.com/listen and use code LISTEN at checkout.
What's the difference between DIY and doing it yourself? It's the difference between a part-time passion and a full-time business. Wix gives you the power to turn your passion into a moneymaker. With a website that fits your unique vision and the business tools you need to succeed. Let your ideas flow with AI that guides you, but keeps you in the driver's seat. Manage your business from one dashboard and keep it growing with built-in marketing features. It's time to turn your daydream into your dream job. Do it yourself. Go to Wix.com.
Well, this week we are continuing our conversation with Dave Bossert. If you remember last week, we talked about movies and everything. And this week we're going to talk about his fairly large catalog of books, actually.
Yes.
So, Dave, talk to us about your books. What was the first book you did? How did you get there?
I'm curious what the transition was.
Yeah, and the transition.
Yep, from...
Yeah, the interesting thing is that, and I kind of feel like this is my entire career. It's somewhat serendipitous, and opportunities present themselves, and you just go with it.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, a lot of people will be presented with an opportunity, and they'll be like, "No, I don't know. I don't think I should do that," or they get skittish about it. But anytime an opportunity presents itself for me, I sit there and go, I evaluate it, obviously, but I, more often than not, say, well, this would be a good thing to try. Somebody came into my office. I told the story last week about somebody asking if I could help do snow animation for Nightmare Before Christmas. And, some people would sit there and go, oh, I I've never done that before. I don't think I can do that, but I was always a person that somebody came in and said, "Hey, would you be interested in doing such and such?" I'd go, "Yeah, okay, I'll give it a try.
Why not?
I mean, what's the worst that can happen? I'll just, flame out and crash, but I've just been one of those people that, as things are presented to you, and when I was doing the special projects gig at the studio, a lot of that stuff was things that hadn't been done before. The Dwarf Mine Coaster down at Walt Disney World, where we projected faces inside audio animatronics of the dwarves. These were new things that, and you just sit there and go, well, yeah, let's give it a shot. Let's just do a proof of concept. I could go repurpose this, and we'll do that, and let's just jam it in and see what it looks like. So I was in Boston with Don Hahn, and we were doing a presentation at the Boston Museum of Fine Arts on Fantasia 2000, and Destino. And Don and I were staying at this boutique hotel near the Garden, if you're from Boston. And in the lobby, off the lobby of this hotel, was the Ruby Lounge. And it was all like red crushed velvet seating and everything. And so, Don and I, when we both got into town, we kind of met up in there for, a drink and just to catch up and talk about what we were going to do at the museum. And you can't talk about Fantasia 2000, or Destino without talking about Roy E. Disney.
Sure, yeah.
And Roy was a friend of ours, a colleague, the boss, the guy with his name on the front door and all that, So I was telling Don some stories because I had actually flown in from Barcelona, Spain, to Boston to meet Don, because I was at the Salvador Dali Museum in Figueres, Spain, doing a presentation on Destino, which by all rights Roy would have been doing, but he had passed away the year before.
Oh,
right.
Yeah.
And so naturally, we're talking about Roy, and I'm telling him some funny stories because I had spent a lot of time with Roy, and I traveled with him and did worked on Fantasia with him because he was the executive producer. And the only reason why Fantasia 2000 was made was because of Roy, So anyway, at one point Don said, "Man," he goes, you ought to put those stories in a book." and I just was like, it was kind of an offhanded comment, and I kind of laughed, and I thought about my 10th grade English teacher who thought the closest thing I would get to books would be reading them in prison. And so I kind of I sort of sloughed it off a little bit, but it kind of was in the back of my mind, and like a couple months later, I was in my office at the studio, and a meeting had dropped off my calendar for whatever reason, but I had this hour, and I on my computer, I went to Amazon at that point, and I just Googled, or I searched on Amazon, I should say, a book on writing books. Seriously, I tell this story all the time. So, I found one that had some good reviews, and I thought, well, what the hell, it was like a $20 book or whatever. And I ordered it, and I don't think I finished that book, but I got enough out of it that I needed to come up with a synopsis of what this book on Roy would be. And I had to write a sample chapter. And so I did that. And I had been doing some writing for a number of years prior to that, but it was mostly like commentaries in the local newspaper on community issues and things going on in the community and stuff like that. And so, I had been doing some writing, and so I went ahead and I did that synopsis, and I did the sample chapter, and then I just asked around if there was somebody I could, maybe get an introduction to or reach out to coldly in the Disney Publishing Group. And somebody mentioned the person's name, and I sent her an email, and I was going to, and she was at the time was based in New York City. So with Disney Publishing, they had offices there, and I was going to be in New York on some business. So I just sent her a note, told her what what the proposal was to do a book on Roy E. And I could send her some samples and we could meet up. And so I did all that. We met at the Gramercy Tavern in Manhattan for lunch. And she said, yeah, we want to do this book. We're going to give you a book contract. And I was like, what? I was like, woohoo! It's so easy to write a book, but it wasn't, so, because I walked out of that lunch and I thought to myself, oh crap, I've got to actually write a whole book.
I was proud of the one sample chapter. Now I need more. Yeah.
But so anyway, that was my first book, was Remembering Roy E. Disney. And so when I finished that book and I turned it in, I also turned in a proposal to do a book on Destino, because I was part of the team that finished Destino, and Roy was the driving force to finish that. And by that point, I was consulting for Disney Legal, and I got to be friends with one of the top company lawyers. And, there was sort of a web of stuff behind the scenes with Destino artwork. And, I was able to talk to him. And anyway, long story short, I made the pitch that we could do this and publish all the artwork and everything. And they said, yeah, we want to do this. We'll give you a contract for that, So, and it just seemed like every time I would pitch an idea, they were like, yeah, we want to do that book,
There are writers everywhere who are screaming at you right now, going, it's not that easy.
There's people shaking their fist and, gnashing their teeth, listening to this. But I didn't realize, what the writing world was like, because it seemed to be so easy at that moment, for those first couple of books. And then I got a literary agent to handle the contracts on other books going after that. But I also did something that I wanted to improve my writing. And so I enrolled in the UCLA Writers Program. And I took those classes at night while I was working.
Wow.
And it was a bit tough, because I was doing like 10, 12-hour days at the office. And then I'd have to drive across Los Angeles to UCLA campus, from Burbank to UCLA.
That's 4 or 5 hours right there.
Wow.
At rush hour. And I would be doing a 7 o'clock to 10 o'clock class, and then driving home from there. But I wound up getting a certificate in creative writing from the UCLA Writers Program. And then I went on and I did a certificate in fiction writing as well. Although I really haven't written any fiction, I just felt like I was on a roll and I wanted to do it. and I would just keep going. So that's, so I did that. And I think, just as a personal critique of, of my own books, I know my writing improves from book to book, and I've also had people, that I know, say, when a new book comes out, wow, this is really good. And I go, oh, so are you saying my other books sucked? But naturally, I think, and this is like, just as an artist, the more you do something, the better you get at it.
Yes.
If you try figure drawing and you've never done it, your figure drawing is going to be terrible. But if you really work at doing figure drawing, it'll improve over time, And so for me, my writing continues to improve, but I feel like I've hit a stride where I'm actually putting out some books that are winning awards and things like that makes you feel good,
Yeah. So it sounds like the first book kind of just came to you. How have you, like, as far as, the topic?
Well, yeah, but I think the thing I would say about that is, yes, that first book was really a suggestion from Don Hahn. And then while I was working on that book, I was looking at Destino because nothing had been written about it. And that story needed to be told because that was like a 65-year from storyboard to finished film.
Wow.
And there was stolen artwork, and there was a lot of different components to that. So each one of the books, there was another book I did, an animator's gallery on Eric Goldberg. And that one was an outgrowth of a project that I was doing. I was heading up special projects, and Shanghai Disneyland was doing a restaurant, and they wanted to have caricatures, but of the Disney characters sort of in an Al Hirschfeld style that you might see at a Brown Derby or something like that. And so I was able to get Eric Goldberg onto that and had him do his beautiful drawings of all of those Disney characters from, the Fab Five in the 30s on Snow White all the way up to, I think we were up to Big Hero 6 at the time. And when I looked at this body of work, I go, oh my God, this should be in a book, And Eric was like, you think so? Yeah, absolutely, And so I pitched that to Disney Publishing, and they said, yeah, we want to do that book, and so that's how that book came about. And then, each one of the books is kind of somewhat serendipitous. I mean, I do have a list of books that I'd like to write, but like the Kem Weber book that I did on the Kem Weber animation furniture. Well, as I'm talking to you, and you can't see it, but I'm sitting at a 1939 original Kem Weber Disney animation desk that I had worked on for nearly 3 decades at the studio. Because the first couple of years I had a larger animator's desk, and then I found this compact animator's desk. And that was the desk that I just dragged with me from office to office when I moved around. So when I was getting ready to leave the studio, they said, would you like your desk? And I said, oh, that'd be great, And so anyway, I laid the drawing board flat, and I have my computer here, and I write my books on this desk.
That's
and
cool.
I was in the middle of working on the Nightmare Before Christmas book for Disney Publishing, and I sort of sat back and I started looking at the desk, and I was, I wonder if anybody's written about this furniture, and then I just kind of went into this rabbit hole of trying to find, do research and find out more about all of this furniture, and decided, I've got to do this Kem Weber book, and so that's how that Kem Weber book came about, which I wrote after I finished the manuscript for the Nightmare Before Christmas book.
I love it.
Each one of the books, like I do books, like the Claude Coates book. Here's another one. So I knew Claude Coates, and I was just starting out at Disney, and I met him in the Imagineering commissary, and I would see him a couple times a week, or 4 or 5 times a month or whatever in the commissary, and I'd sit with him and I'd talk with him for about 1.5 years before he retired, and then 1 year after that he passed away. And you fast forward 30-something years, and I'm at a conference, and somebody's walking towards me, sees my name badge, on the lanyard, and says, "Oh, Dave Bossert, I just got your Destino book at Barnes and Noble." And I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, my book's at Barnes and Noble. Whoa. And then I just kind of catch it, and I'm like, thank you. I hope you enjoy it. And I see his name, Alan Coates. He walks by. And
you're like, wait a minute.
I went looking for him during a break in the conference, and it turned out he had gone home not feeling well, but a mutual friend of ours put us together, and we met up and we had lunch. And I just really wanted to tell him how kind his father was to me, how really super nice he was. I mean, very gentle guy. He was a gentle soul. He was always happy to answer questions. He was very humble. And I just wanted to convey that to Alan. Yeah. And by the end of the lunch, Alan was like, would you be interested in writing a book about my dad? And I was like, well, what kind of stuff have you say? Oh, I got a vast archive of my father's work and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, yeah, let's do a book on Claude Coates.
That's amazing. That's
that's
amazing.
really how a lot of these books come along. The House of the Future book was just something that I had this burning desire to learn more about, and I had never experienced it, so I wanted to try and put something together that you could experience in book form. There's some serendipity, rhyme and reason, but there's also a lot of just, I don't know. I'm interested in it. I want to do so. I want to do that.
Yeah, no, I think that's great because I think a lot of great ideas come that way. Because, right, if it's something you're interested in and then you go down a rabbit hole, other people obviously are probably thinking and curious about the same things. But some of these things don't have much material out there that if it is something you're interested in, that you can get and find and digest easily. So putting these books out there for others to enjoy and learn about these different people, different places, different films, is huge.
Yeah. Yeah. I just enjoy, each book that I write because I really want to write it, not because I'm being told you have to write it or, and if my heart's not in it, I'm just not going to do it because I kind of feel like if you're going to do something, put 150% into it or don't do it at all, And that's why I'm very proud of the books I've done because I put 150% into it and I try and bring material to the reader that they might not have seen or known about. Especially every one of my books has photos and material in it that people have never seen before because I've gone out and actively looked for that kind of stuff. I mean, I have a book coming up next year that I've been collecting material for like 25 years.
Wow.
Oh, geez.
And I have photographs that I know don't exist out in the world because they're one of a kind.
Yeah.
So it's just being able to put that kind of material and put that effort into the book is what makes the readers, the people who are interested in those topics really enjoy them is because you're not regurgitating stuff that's already out there.
Yep. And they're beautiful too. I'm sitting here with the Nightmare Before Christmas book and then also the Claude Coates book. And I've just realized today that I've been making a mistake with these books because they just live on my bookshelf. I need to have them cycle on like my coffee table because the nice thing about these books is they're larger, they're beautiful, but you can kind of just flip through it and read just a little, little bits at a time. It's not like a little paperback chapter by chapter by chapter.
That's
just
what
a couple
sold me on the House of the Future book.
Yeah, is that you can just kind of enjoy it in pieces if you don't have the time to just sit there and dedicate to read the whole thing. So, every time I just open a random page in these books, I learn something new, which is also very fun.
In a total random thing that has nothing to do with the content of your book, both the Claude Coates book and the House of the Future book feel nice. Like
they're luxurious, as
they
I like
are.
to say.
Yes.
So that is what's known as a soft touch or velvet touch laminate.
It makes me want to pick it up.
And what I like about them, and you have the Nightmare book there, right?
Yep.
So the Nightmare book doesn't have it, and the Nightmare book picks up fingerprints. And if the Claude Coates and the House of the Future book, because of the soft touch laminate that's on it, it doesn't get fingerprints on it.
It just feels nice. Like I picked up, like I said, before I came over to record the interview tonight, I picked up the House of the Future book and I'm like, I forgot how much I just like holding this book. So if I would,
I get that all the time with a lot of my books because I just love having that soft touch laminate on the covers.
No, they're nice.
So for anybody listening who's going to go out and buy some of these books, because our listeners do love buying books. Every author we've ever had on has said that they get some sales, which is good. I think people love to have their library. Definitely get. Like, you can get an e-version if you want, but I really think with these books, with the soft touch there's just something about it. I'm just saying. I just love. It's a weird thing to comment on, but I just
no, it's not because so many people have commented on it to me because they pick up the books and it feels luxurious. It really does. It feels substantial. It feels different from ordinary books. It
Yes.
feels special.
It does. And they are kind of special because, like I said, the House of the Future book, which what Teresa was just saying, I opened it up. I was looking at it first at the Howard Johnson mid-mod market because they have it there because there's a section of the book that talks about the House of the Retro Future suite of the Retro Future suite at the Hojo. And I remember going, oh, I kind of want this book. And I was kind of like on the fence and I was like, oh man. And then we saw you at the Disneyana event, and I was like, "Oh yeah!"
And then he picked it up, and then it was definitely done.
It was done, and you got the Claude Coates book too,
Yep, I got the
at the same time. So I just feel bad because I feel like we have so many books, like we're so behind on reading all of our books. So I wish I could tell you that I've read all of the House of the Future book and could comment on it, but I will though. I will.
You'll
I
get
just
there.
I just need to get there. But great books. Tell us about your latest book.
Well, the latest book that's going to come out hopefully next November is Disney World War II.
Oh.
And that one, like I said, I've been working on that for like 25 years because there's just a lot of material. There's a lot of stuff that's going into the book that I know people have never seen before. There's stuff that I've found at the National Archives in Washington, D.C.
Cool.
There's stuff that I've found at other archives around the country. There's a ton of images that I've been able to acquire over the decades that have come from defunct photo services that used to be all over the place pre-computers.
Oh
wow.
So there's images and things that I've collected for various aspects of the World War II period that I think people are just going to be amazed at. I hope they are anyway. There's some that I'm still amazed at that I actually have. So it's going to be I think a pretty hefty book. It's a 65,000 word manuscript, and it dives into a lot of material that no one else has ever covered before. There's very little out there on Disney World War II. There's going to be images in there from classified films that the studio did animation for and things like that people haven't or aren't even aware of. I actually have films that the studio doesn't have.
Oh,
wow.
Because when they made them for the military, there were like on one particular project, which was the Minneapolis Honeywell project, which was the C-1 autopilot, which was new technology at that point in time. They had 3 separate units working on the training film for it, and each unit didn't know what the other was doing, so no one had a sense of what the whole of the movie was.
Yeah.
And when they each completed their section, the military took everything, artwork, film, all of it, off the studio property. So, this is stuff that, again, I don't think it has been seen by the general public in 80 years.
Wow.
So
that's really cool.
So the
and you
some
found it. That's amazing.
Yeah, but some of it's dry material, but I'm trying to gussy it up a little, to make it interesting because it's historic, It's part of our country's history. It's part of the Disney history timeline and all of that.
Yeah.
But again, it's the effort to try and put new material out there that people haven't seen before. Because I think, and you may or may not agree with it, but there's an awful lot of images and things that they just keep recycling, and you see you go, oh, I've seen that image a million times, and it's like I'm trying to avoid that. I'm trying not to be in that trap, so to speak. I want to put new, fresh material into the books.
Who knew writing books could be kind of like a treasure hunt to try and find all of, to collect all of these things?
And that to me is part of the fun of doing some of these books is actually tracking down the material and finding the material. And there's just an and I've said this to a number of people over the years. There's thousands of stories that still can be told about the Disney universe that haven't been told, and that is fascinating, and that I think the fan base would really enjoy knowing more about.
Definitely.
Well, we've talked to a few people that have written books and stuff, and they've said that with the Disney company for a long time, they didn't really want a lot of stories told. They're like, a lot of people didn't know who, like, for parks related stuff, which we have the most knowledge about.
Sure.
They didn't write, like, people didn't know who the Imagineers were for the longest time.
Yeah.
And so it's
Right.
more of a
Names,
recent thing that names have been coming out and, like, these stories are being told. We talked to Tanya McKnight Norris, and she was talking about how she was on some podcast, and that's how she found out that she did the wallpaper or whatever, or worked on the team that did the wallpaper. And she's like,
Yeah.
and when we saw her speak, all she was talking about was, well, I was there, but, like, also these, like, 5 people worked on it with me and, like, did all this. So it's one of those things that, like, there's a lot of stories out there still to be told, and there's a lot of stories that have been told, but it's just because there's been this, like, backlog because nobody did tell any of these stories for so long.
Yeah, I think part of that has to do with the fact that, early on there wasn't a lot of interest necessarily,
That
in
too, yeah.
the but today there's a thirst for it. There's a thirst for people wanting to know who the people were behind the scenes involved with doing these types of projects. And then there's also the aspect that the Disney company itself wants to control the narrative of everything.
Yeah.
And sometimes they want to rewrite history.
Yeah.
So there's those types of things that are going on, and what's nice is that there's more and more people who are interested because the Disney fan base has grown
Yes.
and just continues to grow exponentially over the decades. So I think that's why there's more of this material starting to seep out.
Well, as fans, thank you for being part of that and getting
Yes.
some of these stories out there, because we're fans too. We love hearing all this stuff.
I'm a fan too. That's why I'm doing some of this stuff, because I'm a fan of the each individual topic that I try to tackle.
Yeah.
I'm interested in it, and I want to shed more light on it.
So, Dave, we know that the newest book coming out was 25 years in the making. However, some of these other titles, how long does it take to collect information of, like, say, the House of the Future, or with Claude Coates when you're sitting down with his son? And, how long does it take for you to kind of go from idea to print for some of these?
Well, it varies, but I would say, like, for my new book, Find Your Happy Place, the 8-Step Guide to Boosting Your Creativity Through a Personal Retreat, this was a book I was never going to write. But then, because I've been taking a personal retreat for the last 33 years.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And I think it's not necessarily it doesn't correspond to my time at Disney. I started doing it probably almost 10 years, or maybe eight years or so after I started working at the studio. But for the last 33 years, I've been taking a personal retreat, and it was personal. I mean, it was my going off by myself, thinking about the past year, the new year coming up, what I wanted to accomplish, personal goals, things like that, and how I was going to do it. And by the way, on one of those retreats, I sort of wrote a list. I think it was after I had written the Destino book. I wrote this list on my retreat, sitting at an old picnic table. I wrote it longhand in a composition book, and I thought, well, I'd like to write a book on this. I'd like to write a book on that. I just was writing down whatever came into my head, and I'd write a sentence or two description of what I thought it should be. Well, I've crossed off like 3/4 of that list.
Oh,
That's awesome.
cool.
Right?
Yeah.
So, but again, this was a personal thing that I had done. But then 2020, the pandemic hits, and everything gets kind of shut down. Out here in California, I mean, everything was shut down.
Yeah.
And they really just, you could barely, just run out to the grocery store to get, provisions to survive. And so I had all this time in my office, and I, decided, well, I had done my 3D Disneyland book. I was starting to do some research on some other projects, and I wrote the first draft of this book during that summer, and then I put it aside for a month or two while I was working on some other project, and then I picked it back up and I reread it and I rewrote parts of it. And typically with a book, you know, I'll do my first pass on the book, but I rewrite these books like 4 or 5 times.
Wow.
And then when it's where I think it should be, then I usually have my wife read it. And if she has any notes, I'll address them. And then at that point, I'll go out and have the editor look at it. And then the editor will have notes. And, on this particular book, I got an editor who was experienced in doing self-help books.
Mm-hmm.
So she brought a lot to the table. And,
yeah.
The notes she gave me, we wound up moving some sections of the book around. I rewrote some stuff. I cut some things. It's almost like a sculpture. You're kind of pushing clay around, putting more here, taking stuff away here, shaping it. So that was 2020 when I started this book, and it's 2024. So I think like a lot of my books have been in the works for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say on average, it's probably 2 to 3 years for each book, but they're all overlapping,
Sure.
So sometimes I'm writing in the morning and in the afternoon, I'm doing research on something else, or I'm, driving down to an archive to look for something. It's a very fluid kind of process for me, and everybody works differently, but some people say, oh my God, you're turning out a book a year. Well, some of those books have been been in the process for, 2-3 years, and all of these things are overlapping. So once they actually get printed and start getting released, it's sort of this once a year schedule, but you got to back up off of that. And, so.
I'm impressed that you can be doing one book in the morning and a different topic in the afternoon and keep it all. That's amazing.
Well, part of it has to do with the fact that they're very different topics.
Sure. Okay, sure. Yeah.
And it's also like the writing part of it is very different from, I'm searching for something online, like I'm searching for Kem Weber. Where did he leave his archives? If he left them, where would they be? How do I find that? Oh, I found this little crumb of information over here, and then I see that there is a footnote to it. Oh, and that footnote tells me there's something over there, and so it is a bit of a detective type of thing.
Yeah.
But you can track this material down and find it. So.
Well, then that brings me to my next question, which I think hopefully will be something kind of interesting, which is, in all the research you've done for all the different books, is there something that you came across that most surprised you, or was like your favorite find? Or
yeah, in fact, I don't think I've ever said this in an interview, but I found a photo of Walt Disney giving a photographer the finger.
Oh.
And I'm not going to tell you where I found it,
right? Yeah.
But I found it. And I've never used it, and I don't think I'm ever going to use it. But yes, that was surprising. And it was sort of like he had a cigarette in one hand, and he had sort of this look on his face like, just leave me alone. I'm having a cigarette. And he just had his finger up at the photographer, and the guy snapped it. And I found that photograph on a contact sheet.
Oh.
Right? Buried in an archive someplace, and you would never have really found it unless you had a loop and you were going through this contact sheet looking at all the pictures on, because on a contact sheet you might have, 18 little square photos, know?
Yeah.
And so when I came across that, I was like, oh my God, this is incredible, So, but, what was wonderful about it, it's funny, but it's also the guy was a human being.
Yeah.
like all of us. I mean, he was an extraordinary human being, but he was still a human being who wanted like some peace and quiet once in a while. Like, leave me alone.
I just want to smoke my cigarette. Leave me alone.
Exactly.
I'll tell you what, though, you say this, and like, I feel this is maybe I kind of want like a poster of this now. I don't know why, but it'd be kind of like a fun thing to like maybe have to the side of your desk when you're just having one of those days. You just look over and there's Walt flipping the bird.
Walt. I feel
like, yep.
No,
awesome.
but something. It's like, I don't know. Maybe someday I'll show it. As part of a talk.
There you go.
Sure.
But I don't think I don't think I would ever put it in a book or anything like that. Just out of respect for the guy.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For no other reason. But it was one of those. But it was one of those little surprises that sort of you go, wow.
Yeah.
When I got out of bed this morning, I didn't think I'd find a picture of Walt flipping me off.
Yeah. I have another photograph which will actually be in an upcoming book, but it is Walt pitching storyboards, and I acquired it from a collector who just thought it was Walt pitching storyboards at the studio, and it wasn't. It was Walt pitching the storyboards for a Donald Duck tax picture that they did for the U.S. Treasury Department at the beginning of World War II, and he's pitching the storyboards to the U.S. Treasury Secretary at the Treasury Building in Washington, D.C.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I was just blown away by it because I had never seen it before. It was not a studio or company photograph, and it fit right into something that I'm working on. And I was just like, wow, this is an incredible visual. And not only that, Joe Grant was with him and is in the picture along with Herb Ryman.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
And I got to know Joe Grant because he was still working at the studio when I was there.
Yeah.
In fact, I think I sent you guys a picture of me, Joe, and Roy.
You did,
and for Joe's 95th birthday in 2004. So, it was one of those things where I had been, over the years of knowing him, and doing all this World War II research, I was always asking him and showing him stuff. And he was always very insightful in giving me background on things. So.
It's always incredible when you see new pictures, especially of like Walt Disney, because it's not like today where you could take a million photos in like no time. There's only so many photos, and they're physical things that could have gotten lost to time or damaged or whatever. So that's always got to be an incredible feeling when you come across a new one.
I mean, just realize it, because today you can use a digital camera and just hold the button down. It's like taking a million photos, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're going click, pop with a flash bulb, and then they have to like crank it to move the film to the next unexposed frame of film. So
and then hope they develop it right and don't ruin it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So that's incredible that there's still new photos of Walt being discovered.
Yep.
That's awesome.
I know now that I mentioned this, when this podcast airs, I'm probably going to get tons of people sending me notes. Oh, but show that picture, put it up on social media.
Leave Dave alone. He's trying to do something nice
Dave
for the man.
and leave Walt alone.
Yeah, leave them both alone.
That's what he wanted in that photo. He wanted to be left alone.
Yeah. Respectful of.
Yes. I'm just like so excited to see what other things you cross off of your book list, because the thing that kind of draws me to your works is that they're so different and they're unique, because they're topics, like we were saying before, that you can't easily find information on your own. So it's just great to have, because us as fans get to learn more stuff about people like Roy or people, Kem Weber. Now I'm intrigued about this because of the furniture for the Disney studios.
But like my Kem Weber, but there's two Kem Weber books out. Mm-hmm. My book and a book on his entire career. Right? And on his entire career, there's one chapter on him doing the Disney Studios in Burbank, and in that chapter, there's one paragraph on the furniture.
Wow.
Right? So of the books, the Kem Weber book on the furniture is really the only book on the 22 pieces of animation furniture he designed for Walt Disney Productions.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's the only book. And Claude Coates, that's the only book on Claude Coates, and that's just the first 15 years of Disneyland, so to speak, because with Claude, you could do a book on his first 20 years at the company, 1935 to 1955, in the animation department as not only a background painter, but head of backgrounds, color stylist. You could do a whole book on that 20 years. And then from 1970 to the end of his career, you could do a book on his work at Walt Disney World, at Paris Disneyland, and on Tokyo.
Yeah.
But that's the only book on Claude Coates. And The House of the Future. It's the only book on The House of the Future, So I enjoy doing those types of topics because, again, how many books can you write about Pinocchio or Bambi or, you know what I mean? Like how many books can you regurgitate on something that has had a bunch of stuff done on it?
Yeah.
Yeah. It becomes harder and harder to bring new material to the table.
Yep. Nope, definitely.
Well, Dave, is there anything else that you would like to talk about that we didn't talk about?
No, not at all. I mean, look, I have a website, davidbossert.com, where I have free content, articles, and things I've written over the years. If people are interested, all of my books are available wherever you get your books, Amazon, Barnes & Noble. You can get a lot of my books, author-signed copies of my books at theoldmillpress.com. I'm trying to think what else.
A podcast.
Yes, I should bring that up because again, another serendipitous moment, because in the summer of 2020 during the pandemic, I was promoting my 3D Disneyland book, where the park is never closed, and Disneyland was closed during that period. And I went on the Disney List, which was hosted by Al John Go. And Al John Go, interviewed me, and it was just one of those really good interviews. It was just we kind of clicked. It was a good conversation. I wrote him a nice email afterwards saying, "Hey, thanks, for having me on the show. I appreciate your help in promoting the book." And he wrote back. He says, I had such a good time talking to you. You ought to consider doing a podcast. And then I wrote back to him and I said, well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I said, if I ever decide to do a podcast, I'd love to do one with you. And then he wrote back. He says, if you're serious, I will do a podcast with you.
That's awesome.
And that is how the Skull Rock podcast came about, Like 2 months later, we did our first episode, which was the first week of October in 2020. And the first episode was just us talking and what we were going to try and do. And then the second episode, we interviewed Joe Hale, the producer of The Black Cauldron.
There you go.
Yeah. And
Way to start.
And now it's like 220 some odd episodes later.
Congratulations. That's amazing.
Yeah. So... But yeah, we drop a new show every Monday, wherever people get their podcasts, and we're just having a ball doing it. We're getting a lot of really great guests on, and we've got listeners all over the world, which is kind of fun because we get notes from people, all over the place, and we just enjoy ourselves. So
that's awesome. And again, we'll have a link in the show notes for that.
Yeah,
too.
and again, it's a bit of an oral history. All of these podcasts, when you interview people, it's a collective oral history of Disney and aspects of Disney, and pop culture.
Yeah.
So.
Well, the Skull Rock podcast comes out on Mondays. We come out on Wednesdays, so people can have Disney they can listen to all week long.
There you go.
Go over and subscribe to that one. All right. Well, we will wrap it up with the last question we ask everybody. So if you could work at Disneyland, what job would you do? The sky's the limit. Could be a real job, could be a made-up job. What would you like to do working at the park?
Oh my gosh. I have worked at the parks. I mean, well, I honestly, I don't know. I mean, I've done so many different things over the years. If I could work at the parks, I mean, I don't know. I'd almost want to be a guy that walks around with one of those little dustbins that you sweep
Oh, the
stuff in.
sweeper?
Custodial
Yeah.
cast members, yeah.
A custodial cast member, just because you get to mingle with all the people and you can actually see, it's funny. I've done so much work down at Disneyland and the various parks over the years that when I go down there, sometimes, like, I would take my team down to have lunch at the Blue Bayou, and then, they'd have a couple hours to go in the park. I'd actually go sit on a bench on Main Street and just watch people watch and just relax. So I think for me, it's I get a kick out of watching people have a good time at the parks, because, like, when we premiered World of Color, I had seen it so many times working on it, as it was coming together, that when at the premiere, the first time it was shown to the public in the park, I was there, but I was watching people reacting to certain things to see if we were hitting on a right note, like, were people being wowed by that, or were people laughing at that, and so it's enjoyable to have worked on something and then to see people's reactions to it, and to see if you were successful or not. On all the movies I worked on, I always went to the local movie theater just for a regular show, to sit in the theater and hear the reaction from people as they were watching the movie. Were they laughing at the right places or not? Or, those kinds of things. Did they enjoy it? Did they applaud at the end of the movie like sometimes people do? And, all of that. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, it seems like it would be a lot of good exercise to walk around sweeping,
There you go.
sweeping up trash and watching people enjoy themselves.
Well, if you ever have time, if you haven't already, our friends Lynn and Ken, who
They know Lynn. He knows
I was going to say,
the sweet spot.
Yeah.
I actually was just on the sweet spot.
Yeah.
I don't know, like a month ago or something.
Yep.
Yeah. So they were custodial cast members. So and
Well, there
they've
you
got
go.
their 2 books. So their books are pretty awesome too. And I'm one of those nerdy people. I like to know behind the scenes and however, like you were saying, people are into that right now. I love reading their books because they're we've talked to them a bunch of times, and it's just like, in the beginning they were like, I don't know who wants to read about where we were putting garbage and stuff, and I'm like, I do. I don't know why, but I do.
It's funny because one of the book ideas I have, and so this is one of those, maybe at some point in the future, because I've been collecting stories about it, and I tentatively have called it Death at Disneyland. But it's not people being killed, because Disney has a really great safety record. It's about those people who are dropping family ashes in the cemetery at the Haunted Mansion or other places. And I just thought it would be so great to profile a whole bunch of fans who have had their ashes dropped at the park, and just the thinking behind it, because I find it fascinating. And by the way, it's not just limited to, Disneyland, the Haunted Mansion or whatever. There are fans who pass away and their loved ones drop their ashes at the favorite ballpark that they were, Yankee Stadium or, Wrigley Field, because their loved one, went to so many baseball games there and stuff like that. But to be able to spotlight those stories of people and why their loved ones chose to do that, and celebrate the person whose ashes were dropped in that particular spot, because I don't think it's limited just to people disposing of loved ones' ashes at the cemetery at the Haunted Mansion.
Right.
I think it happens in lots of different areas of the
Oh, yeah.
park. And leaving a little piece of their loved ones there, to the chagrin of the studio, which doesn't want them to do that.
Right.
But I also think that they should just do some sort of mausoleum wall that has like a little, square, a 4-inch by 4-inch square little, box that you could put a little container of your loved one's ashes in, and you pay a fee for that in perpetuity. I don't know. I mean,
you give them a place to do it.
It's kind of a crazy idea, but who knows? Maybe they'll do that someday. They seem to capitalize on just about everything else.
You never know, right? You never
exactly.
know. Well, Dave, it was so wonderful chatting with you and listening to all of your amazing stories throughout the years at the Walt Disney Company, and now more recently with all of your different books and your.
I'm really excited for the next one, the World War. I'm very
World
excited.
War II.
Yeah, I'm excited about that one because I just think there's just so much stuff that's going into it, that visuals, and it's going to be it's probably going to be about 350 page book, so
full of tons of amazing information.
A lot of incredible stuff.
Well, it's that time again. We are hosting our public live stream this Sunday. Join us on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/DLWeekly at 5:30 p.m. Disneyland time, where we'll be having a lively chat for about an hour. We didn't do one in December, so we are doing one for January. So come and join us.
It's okay. I'll be the only weekly tier without an answer. Make sure you send your questions to Producer James or Producer Vern at trivia@DLWeekly.net.
Welcome back to Trivia Land, where we are going to find out the answers to tonight's questions. Tag, Teresa, how do you think you did?
Not well. Could have been better.
This was a tough week for us. Maybe not for the listeners, but it was a little rough for us.
It was rough.
Well, let's find out, shall we?
Sounds good.
Your first listener-submitted question from listeners Jonathan and Shanna. What is the name of the park ranger who reminds you to be safe on Grizzly River Run? He also makes fun of you for being all wet at the end of the ride. Tag said it's Kronk. Teresa said his name is Sam. The correct answer that I was looking for was J. Audubon Woodlore.
I mean, I was close.
Wow.
Not at all. I'm sorry. J. Audubon
Woodlore.
Woodlore.
Woodlore, yes.
Oh.
He came around in 2019 as a replacement for the previous Surfer Dude style that there used to be.
Oh.
There you go.
Mm-hmm. Your second listener-submitted question from listener Donna S. What game show was Walt Disney on? Tag said The Dating Game, and Teresa said Match Your Mate. He was a married man. How dare both of you?
I thought it was something like that.
Is it Match Your Mate like you're doing it with your significant other, though?
Honestly, I've never seen an episode, so you could be right on that one. But the correct answer we were looking for was the show What's My Line?
So after we answered, Vern, I went to YouTube and typed in Walt Disney Game Show because I knew I had seen this and it was going to drive me crazy. And yeah, What's My Line? I was like, dang it.
Okay.
He was also on with Jerry Lewis on that same panel. And the third
Jerry
one
Lewis
that comes
was on
up
the panel that tried to guess who he was.
is Colonel Sanders.
Can I confess something here? Match Your Mate is not a real game show. It's a Disney cruise game show.
Well, at least you were on
I've been on too many Disney cruises recently. Yeah,
wow,
Match Your Mate's not even a TV show.
That's such a problem to have. I've been on too many Disney cruises.
Yeah, it's not really a problem, but I thought it was a real show, and it's not.
Wow.
It's a game that they play on Disney cruise ships.
I hope people like the episode this week because we're all a little loopy, apparently.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, we're all a little loopy. I am just here with a snoring dog next to me. I am fine.
Well, you're sharing your loopiness with the dog.
Oh, that's it.
Terrible.
All right. So, yes, in November of 1956, a blindfolded panel asked questions until they guessed who Walt Disney was.
He disguised his voice.
He actually did. I watched the entire clip.
Yeah.
That's fun.
And when they asked him questions, he answered in 3 different languages, and he gruffed up his voice a little bit.
Yeah.
And when contestants on that show come out onto stage, they take a piece of chalk and they write their name on a chalkboard. The studio audience didn't recognize him by face.
Oh.
And so when he came out on stage, like, maybe a quarter of the audience actually recognized him by face. Because, this is 1956. His face wasn't as well known. He wasn't on TV that much. There was no internet, And so he comes out on a stage and like a quarter of the audience is actually like applauding and getting excited. And then when he starts signing his name, the place just erupted. And the panel is blindfolded. They have no idea what's going on. And one of the panelists actually asked the question as they're trying to figure out who he is. They said, okay, so when you came out, nobody recognized you, but when you signed your name, everybody knew exactly who you are. How notorious are you?
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it, because he did have some TV appearances, but TV's also maybe just, maybe not as common, right? So, Wait a minute. Is that?
It's probably Jerry Lewis.
No.
Jerry Lewis is the second from the left in the video clip.
Yeah.
Dark hair, dark suit.
I was just looking because there was that part coming up here where Walt signed his... Yeah, there you go. And it's very... Look at that. Very Walt Disney.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And at that point, the entire studio audience is just freaking out.
That's funny. He got distracted halfway through because it looked like he forgot.
Because everybody started freaking out.
That's funny.
And I think also the chalk kind of broke a little bit.
Yeah, I got to watch this again.
That's fun.
Anyway.
Yeah. And as they're asking him questions, he answers in French, German, and Spanish.
Oh,
and gruffs up his voice a little bit.
Wow.
So the entire panel is going, we have no idea who you are, man.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So we will have a link in the show notes to a video of that for those of you that are interested to watch.
Yep.
Your third listener submitted question from listener Andy M. In the Haunted Mansion, can you name all 5 of Constance's dearly departed spouses? Tag said their names are stumped.
Yep.
And Teresa said their names are I'm a failure. The correct answer that we were looking for is Ambrose Harper, Frank Banks, the Marquis de Doom.
Oh, yeah, I forget the Marquis.
Reginald Kane, and George Hightower.
I feel like George Hightower was one that we should know, because isn't that the dude? Is Hightower somehow related to
Harrison Hightower?
He is
which was part of the
rumored relative of Harrison Hightower of Tokyo Disney Sea.
Yeah, and the SEA people.
Mm-hmm.
The
Yes.
Explorer, yeah. Anyway, cool.
Mm-hmm. Your fourth regular round question from listener Ayla T. Which attraction boat holds more people, Small World or Pirates of the Caribbean?
I think we got this one, Teresa.
I'm pretty sure, too.
Both of you hopping in the same boat and saying that the correct answer is Pirates. The correct answer that I was looking for, holding 24 passengers compared to the other one only holding 16, is Pirates of the Caribbean.
Boom.
Yeah, I think I pulled up images of the boats, and to me, so Pirates does have 6 rows, and it looked like, from what I could quickly look at for photos, Pirates had 6 rows, and Small World only had 5 rows, and also
And they're
width.
wider.
Yep.
Yeah.
They look like they're wider, too. Look at that. Good job.
And your bonus question tonight from listener Paige N. What are the names of the main birds in the Enchanted Tiki Room?
I think we got this one, too.
You paused a little bit. Sounded like you were second-guessing yourself. The answers you gave, Jose, Pierre, Michael, and Fritz. The correct answer that I was looking for, Jose, Pierre, Michael, and Fritz.
Which I'll do you one better, Vern.
Yeah.
Spanish, French, Irish, and German, I think, are the nationalities of the 4 birds. Boom.
Well.
There you go.
Well, listeners, how did you do listening at home? How do you think Tag and Teresa did? Do you think you've got that perfect question and you'd like to add yourself to the list of contributing listeners? Well, feel free to send that in to us at dlweekly.net/trivia.
Well, we will be back next week with more Disneyland news and information.
Until then, go out and enjoy the parks.
And a special thank you to Sidel for editing the podcast.
Please remain seated until the podcast comes to a complete stop and the doors have opened. Then collect your belongings, watch your head, and step carefully from the episode. On behalf of all of our crew, thanks for traveling with us, and we hope you have a happy and memorable visit here at DL Weekly.
This is a mini meditation guided by Bombas. Repeat after me. I'm comfy. I'm cozy. I have 0 blisters on my toes. And that's because I wear Bombas, the softest socks, underwear, and t-shirts that give back. 1 purchased equals 1 donated. Now go to bombas.com/listen and use code LISTEN for 20% off your first purchase. That's BOMBAS.com/listen and use code LISTEN at checkout.